I wanted to take a value investing look at Nvidia. Nvidia stock, NVDA stock, the ticker symbol there, sold off sharply on Friday after having run up significantly for some months. Now, I looked at Nvidia stock a couple months ago, several months ago, before the big rally, and I was like, you know what? There's a lot here. The Nvidia stock, of course, rallying sharply and continuously up until Friday. What happened to Nvidia stock on Friday? We're seeing some selling off in Nvidia stock today, NVDA. What is going to happen in the future? Now, as a value investor, first and foremost, I take a look at the broader economy and ask the question, what's going on with the economy? First and foremost. Second, beyond just the economy, any individual stock, how are they operating within that economy? And I take a purely value investing standpoint, and I ask the question, when it comes to, say, investing in any particular one stock, what can we compare that one stock to ask the question, is this overpriced or underpriced, and what would be the broader trend, generally speaking? Let's jump in and I'll show you what I'm looking at for Nvidia stock and what I think will happen in the future, despite the big growth we will see in AI stocks, broadly speaking, and the industry. What will happen with Nvidia stock? Let's jump in. Here's a good look at Nvidia stock. NVDA is the ticker symbol. And as you can see, just back in February, we did get their latest earnings release, and this skyrocketed Nvidia stock, and it brought up a lot of other stocks as well. Shooting up, Nvidia stock, of course, clearing 960. I think it was hitting about 980 or so, then selling off sharply, almost 10%, if not more. So what's going on with Nvidia stock, and what's it worth? What is NVDA stock worth? Yes, there's going to be a lot of growth, but that growth is already priced in. And that's why the market has moved up. And since it's actually probably overpriced in, some traders are starting to take profits. When we take a look at quarterly revenue, big jump in Q4 numbers, and if you can put all this down sequentially, you see that Nvidia stock's numbers are really jumping. Here's something I like to look at, the projected revenue. Now, I had to increase all of these across the board because, and as we saw in the latest financial release for Nvidia, they're exceeding expectations. And so investors have priced in these new expectations for 2024 at $108 billion in revenue, and then 2025, $132 billion. The thing to note is there's a big jump between 2023, which we just finished up and NVIDIA just reported, into 2024. That's about 2/3% or 66% increase from 2023 to 2024 in just revenue. But then things start to drop down to about a 20% increase for 2025. And that's really kind of the sort of signature thing that you need to keep in mind, that pricing in to 2025, the rate of growth declines significantly. And this is one thing that has sort of, for AI stocks, NVIDIA, of course, will provide that architecture up front, the chips, but then you have the services and cloud and other things that other companies are going to provide using NVIDIA's products. There are other companies out there, of course. But once they buy up all the chips that they need to move forward with their AI projects, it becomes a services thing, and some stocks are more positioned better to see growth versus, say, NVIDIA. Not to mention competition. But in the meantime, NVIDIA is crushing it. Here's a quick look at net margins, 56% for Q4. So every $100 they're bringing in, they're keeping 56 cents. That's huge. The S&P 500, 11 cents. But this is what I really wanted to kind of break down when it comes to projected earnings per share and what you look for when you're taking just a value investing perspective for any one stock. We're moving from 2023 $12.96 earnings per share to double $24.97 for 2024. Keep in mind, we only saw a 60% increase in 65% increase in revenue gains, but we're seeing a doubling of earnings. But that shaves down to merely 20% for 2025. Competition and, roughly speaking, increases. The rate of growth is going to decline. That's one thing that investors are looking at when they're looking at NVIDIA stock. Breaking everything down. As of the close of Friday, 852, actually Sunday afternoon, I put this together. It's Monday morning here right now. Looking at the 24.97 off of 852, you can see the yield there at 2.93%. Your benchmark 10-year Treasury yield, 4.2%, roughly. 4.15%, probably going to go up higher tomorrow. So you have this sort of choice. Do I invest in the U.S. 10-year Treasury at 4.25%? Or do I invest in NVIDIA stock, which the growth rate is slowing down, and we're actually seeing some profit taking in NVIDIA stock? Let me give you a hint. The biggest value investor on planet Earth is starting to tap out of Apple stock. Apple is yielding below the U.S. 10-year Treasury benchmark rate. What Warren Buffett is doing for his next investments, he bid in pretty large chunks into oil companies, Occidental, and I think the other one was Chevron. Oil company stocks have not been moving higher, and in fact, oil dropped down to about 76 per barrel off of 79 earlier. So Warren Buffett is looking at these stocks, selling Apple stock, buying oil companies because he thinks that they're overpriced. And when you look at the yield for NVIDIA, when you price in future earnings per share, we may get some surprises upward, yes, but the risk is to the downside. You're better off in the 10-year Treasury yield. The thing about the 10-year Treasury yield is simply this. Interest rates are fairly elevated at this point, but if interest rates start to move down, price goes up, there's an inverse relationship. So your risk to reward ratio is skewed heavily in favor of reward for an investment in 10-year Treasuries versus stocks that are overpriced relative to the 10-year Treasury. Value investors, those who are looking at these metrics, they're hitting the sell button. NVIDIA stock, NVDA, is overpriced when you look at it from that perspective. Now, surprises to the upside. We continually get surprises to the upside from NVIDIA. Because of that, it's hard to encapsulate what could actually be the earnings per share projection. In the meantime, they're looking at the metrics and they're hitting that sell button because it's just overextended. But getting closer to the next earnings release dates, that could really tip the scale as to what's going to happen with NVIDIA stock in the coming future. Simply, if we continue to get increases, surprises to the upside, then it just absolutely blows us out. But what if we start to get a slowdown more than expected? Again, blows this out. This is really kind of one of the things that you have to encapsulate, your risk to reward ratio. The U.S. 10-year Treasury, on a comparison basis, not nearly as sexy, but it could be far more profitable. And that's sexy when it comes to investing. So for NVIDIA stock, NVDA, it's overpriced as far as I'm concerned, given the metrics we have right now. A lot of investors agree with that. They sold off NVIDIA stock on Friday. Right now, it's starting to sort of mellow out at these levels. Could go lower, could see some buying, a resurgence, but we do have economic indicators coming out which could really push the needle either way for both of these. Make sure to hit the like and follow button. I do a lot of analysis on the broader economy, which would push, say, NVIDIA stock, which would push, say, SPY stock. Make sure to hit that like and follow button. We'll see you in the next video.